This is what scared me. You're reading the studies and going, how is this possible? I was sick of looking at supplements and not seeing the integrity line up. Those kinds of things scared the shit out of me.
So are you saying they almost kind of don't want to investigate it? Because if they investigate it, they know something's going to show up.
Plausible deniability. It goes so deep.
The truth is the only thing that sets us free. Darin, I have to say, the office is buzzing with you coming in. Our EA Katie, I think, is your number one fan.
Number one.
Not to put you on blast, Katie, but
I'm stoked to have the number one. To meet my number one.
She came in, she said, hey, I got him all warmed up. I was chatting him up out there. I don't know what she was saying to you. But thanks so much for making the trip out here, man, and coming on. I think that we're going to go down the rabbit hole here a bit.
Okay.
So let's get some context and background of you. Talk to us about how you even got into this.
This particular crazy book?
Yeah.
30 years ago.
Wow.
My father, who was a university professor, and obviously my first male mentor in my life, I was in college finishing nutrition physiology degree, and all of a sudden I kind of got a call and he started explaining, I think I have pinned down why I'm having brain fog and lack of energy and I can't think. I was like, because he was like talking about stuff like that. And through a few doctors of his, they diagnosed him with multiple chemical sensitivity. So, and it was hard. It was frankly hard to believe because it's like I've known him obviously all my life, and all of a sudden he's talking about I can't wear a t-shirt, I can't be in a room that has new carpets, new paints, I can't wear any fragrances, shampoos, conditioners, all of that. And then over time, before the internet, right, my dad would put VHS tapes and find research and start educating me on the chemicals that had no safety data, and cut to kind of reverse engineering why him. He was one of the keepers of the dragon in the Cuban Missile Crisis with the atomic bomb. So he was exposed to a lot of radiation, and so his thyroid was compromised, which I knew. And so once you start altering your endocrine system, as we will talk more about, it's the operating system of the body. And so with an alcoholic background, with his liver being challenged, it created an opportunity for him to have this happen in a sense. And I say opportunity because it educated me, it started. And then throughout the years, I would run into researchers starting to talk about 25 years ago, starting to show me research on EMFs and scared the shit out of me on cell phones up to the head and blood-brain barrier and all of these things. So kind of on the path of the health world I was in, this has been playing. And so now, we spend all our time trying to, eat great, optimize our health, even biohacking. But if this invisible world that, even though my dad was a severe case, the evidence is very clear that it's affecting all of us.
I think one of the problems of why people are so resistant to this is nostalgia. Because when I try to have this conversation with like people who like use a certain cleaning supply, it's like they're almost nostalgic and romantic about the Windex or the Clorox or the fucking tree in the car that smells like strawberries.
Exactly.
And so they almost have this like nostalgic association to the product. And I think like the conversation's starting to be more open, but at first it's jarring. So I guess my question for you is, when he brought these things up about how he couldn't be in a room with new carpet or paint, were you like, you're crazy?
Of course.
Yeah. So
we all were. The whole family.
So how did you guys take that in and actually open your mind to him saying that?
Well, it's time and learning. I would be willing to read what he was sharing with me, and you'd see the data, and then you would see these, news articles that he would find or on the television, and then started to talk to their doctors a little bit. And then really the biggest difference was if I was gonna see him from college, so I'd drive back home an hour and a half in Minnesota, I would have to prepare myself to wear these things that didn't have sense that he would send me. So the conditioner, what I would wash my clothing in, I'd have to change all of that just so I could be in the same room with him. So upon doing it, I then realized, even though I didn't realize, these things were affecting me.
Because once you cut it out and then you bring it back in, you're immediately more sensitive. Like once,
absolutely.
For me, I cut like certain detergents out, and now when someone's around me that has a detergent, it's so off-putting. Yeah. I can't even give them a hug.
Yeah, I probably before doing this show fell into that resistant class of people. Yeah. I was not nostalgic about the Windex, but
are you sure?
I
feel like it was in your soup. But you might.
But I would probably I met a lot of this stuff with, I'm sure, many of the responses that you see daily with people just being extremely skeptical and saying, hey, maybe this is in your mind. But it wasn't until Lauren, she moved all of our household cleaning supplies, she changed our detergent, she changed what we sleep in, like all of it, and to her credit. And now, to your point, I notice that stuff way more, and I don't like it when I'm around. And I think it's one of those things where we're good at as humans at adapting to our environments. And you kind of, if there's something uncomfortable, you just get used to it.
Totally.
I was talking to somebody about this as it relates to alcohol. I'm like, a lot of people that drink frequently, you really don't know what it's like until you remove it for an extended period of time, how much different your life is. And I imagine the same thing with some of this stuff that we're talking about or going to talk about, which is, it just becomes people's new norm, and they don't realize how much better they can feel if they just make a couple changes.
100%. And I think that's the plus and the minus of being human, right? It's like if you there was a survey done 15 years ago where you asked everyday average people, hey, how are you feeling? And most people would say between 1 and 10, 10 being the best. Most people, no matter the economic class, no matter the job, they'll all say, yeah, I'm pretty good, 7 to 8. To that point, we get used to that stuff. Just like exercise, right? When you add up some exercise and you lose some weight or do whatever to make that adjustment, then you're going, oh my God, it feels so good. The challenge is the action and breaking that nostalgia, breaking that kind of apathy to then take a step. Everyone listening right now will have resistance to almost everything I have in that book, right? Because we have all gotten used to a way that we are. And then we prescribe that to ourselves every day. We anchor that in. And now that habit is either helping us or it's harming us. But either way, we're used to it. And that's just what it smells like. My car is supposed to smell this way. My clothes, this is how my mom washed, and it's what it smelled like before. So there is this very powerful dopamine thing that you're going against. But if you're willing to take a different step and to challenge that, then you have the possibility of feeling better than you thought you were feeling. So the point is that we get so used to feeling a certain way that we don't have an impetus of change. But then when you look at the startling things in this book was, the very fabric of our evolution as a human is being disrupted, right? The endocrine system, the motility of sperm, the testosterone plummeting. So we're doing all of these things in the face of literally our existence, the very thing that moves us forward as a human species. And yet we don't want to change those simple things. And I don't know what the answer is, because I know this book is intense in that way. But if you're willing to take one of those things and suspend a little uncomfortable to align and integrate something that you know could be better, then you're gambling and betting that you will feel better. And then that snowball effect. And I love that scenario because during the book, I was like, moms have to know this information because they're running the household, right? So we're stubborn. Most men, we just get locked in. And the fact that you took on this and then changed the household, and then you were able to reap the benefits in spite of yourself, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, not to be
I just
sexist,
want to take a minute to thank myself.
She's going to go on a tangent here.
This motherfucker
had,
you're going to die, had the trash, the trash, what's the bags? The scented trash bags. Those are the worst.
Listen,
those are the worst because now you're taking trash, which is already gross, and you're putting it in a scented trash bag.
But here's the thing.
Walking around like Santa Claus.
I didn't even know that existed until now.
I think the majority, I don't want to say even, I think of people in the world go to the cleaning aisle, specifically in the grocery store or supermarket, wherever, and they just grab what they think they, what's on the shelves.
They think it's been tested.
Yeah, and they just, we talked about this a lot on this other episode where it's like, you just assume if it's on a shelf that it must be healthy.
Yeah.
So
it's been tested, and then there's an agency that's got your back as much as your mom would. Right. So I can spend my hard-earned money and get this product that, of course. So of course I want my trash to smell better, but you don't realize that there's hundreds of chemicals likely carcinogenic and endocrine disrupting. And there's a plausible deniability that allowed it to be there, that as long as that company's not testing it, they're like, I don't know if it's bad.
Lauren and I have the benefit
get to sell it.
Of speaking to people like yourself regularly. And I think that if we didn't, like, one of the benefits of this show is I get to have these conversations and it gets drilled into my head. Like, we had Ken Cook on the show, who's the head of the EWG, and went through all of that.
Amazing.
And you just don't realize as a consumer, as a normal consumer, all the stuff that slips through the cracks. And I said this less eloquently on another show, and it got broken down to a clip. And by no means am I an expert. I bring people like you on. But I said that I have a hunch that our environment is far outpacing our evolution and the environments we're creating for us. And our systems are just not built to be able to keep up with the pace of technology and chemicals that we're producing in the world now. And I think that's why people are having so many health issues.
Bingo. Not even close, right? Not even close being able to, where it's just this gnarly experiment. I love that you had Ken on, because obviously EWG's been kicking some ass for a long time trying to raise the alarm, and it should be out there even more. The fact that we have to have agencies like this, books written like that, the fact that that is even a thing means that these systems have radically failed us, right? That we haven't had the testing, the proof of safety first before it is on that shelf. It's ridiculous. Just everyone for a second pause with that they don't have to prove that the product is safe before they market it, usually some sort of greenwash, and sell it to you and your children.
And then they name it, like green thumb.
Right. That's the greenwash.
They name it something green, and like you're saying, they put they make it white so it looks really clean, and they'll say like no parabens or some shit on it.
Right.
And it's just a hoax.
Yeah.
So you really do have to be your own guru. I would love to know, when you started learning all this information from your father, what were some really easy, tangible things that you did to kick this off? Because I love how intense everything you say is, but I want to first give the audience some easy little things that they can immediately change that worked for you.
Vinegar in the laundry as a laundry detergent, and that's an easy one. Essential oils, right? That's a super simple one to do, especially when I have dogs, right? So, and around my dad, it was lotion, coconut oil, right? And it also has a natural SPF of 7, right? Roughly 5 to 9, people say, and the research shows. So those kinds of things. And then one thing I would recommend for anybody, people are going to hate this, fragrance free. Just get rid of it all. Get rid of, because the loopholes around fragrances, because of the proprietary language, they get a pass, right? So they get a pass they don't have to disclose. And so many studies that I cited in the book show that there likely carcinogens of over 100 different chemicals, as well as endocrine disruptors. So just get rid of the fragrance, right? And if you want a fragrance, then go to an essential oil, go to a rose hydrosol, like go that direction. So imagine it's ultra processed food is one thing, but it's also ultra processed products and all of this stuff, where the greatest part about, I think, this book and EWG is the elimination of toxicity over time. And then the inclusion of products like an essential oil in terms of this example of a fragrance. It can actually lower your sympathetic response, your stress response, and upregulate your parasympathetic response, calm you down. So you're eliminating as well as upregulating your body and your body system at the same time.
What are the 3 most intense, gnarliest things that you say in this book? Give us some. Give us some ones that you were like, this is going to be disruptive. This is taboo. This is nuts. People are going to think I'm nuts, but I don't give a shit. I'm going to say it. As I wave my Sharpie, that I'm now like, oh, I need a non-toxic marker.
Yeah. Well, there's so many. You know how many times I swore writing this book? I was on my deck outside writing on the weekends. Usually I could get a lot done. And I just staring at this research. So, and I know a little bit about this stuff, but you're reading the studies and going, how is this possible? Earlier, even before the book, the dental floss pissed me off so bad. I don't know why. That Glide dental floss that's easy to slide in between.
Goodbye.
I'm done.
Is full of PFAS.
Oh, great.
So you think you're doing your gums a favor, and you're literally putting all these chemicals up into your gums.
No. Did you water pick?
Water pick's great, yeah.
Or what about a toothpick?
Yeah, good old fashioned toothpick.
I love a guy with a toothpick. There is nothing hotter than a guy with his the windows rolled down, his arms up, and he's got a toothpick.
Carson, please make a note to grab me a pack of toothpicks.
Non-toxic toothpicks. Okay,
oh
go
my
ahead.
God, you're gonna change the. I'm investing in toothpicks. Let's just make sure they don't have formaldehyde and everything else, right? So let's
need a good wood source.
Let's get we'll source. I'm good at sourcing, so we can source. And
I'm in. Done.
Side product.
There's a lot of business I've gone into that I never thought toothpicks would be right up there.
So that's a really good one, the dental floss. Give us another one.
Well, the rabbit hole of electromagnetic fields.
Oh, great.
It is so gnarly. Let me just say, I don't know if we have time to unpack the telecommunication system.
Let's do it.
But this is bigger, I believe, than the tobacco industry punting that research, lying to the public for 40 years. When I was looking into, again, some of the first studies I was exposed to, pun intended, was 25 years ago around electromagnetic radiation of a cell phone, right? So when I started this chapter, the more I would dig in, the more I would like, okay, there's telecommunication, there's 5G, but then there's the history of electrification. So I have to consume a lot of information so I can kind of more appropriately make a chapter out of it. So I went all the way into the history of electrification that scared the shit out of me. They knew when you put a wire in a wall, it has magnetic radiation and frequency generation, right? And there was studies I was reading of schoolhouses not grounded properly, cell phone towers, even regular electric towers next to houses and homes and schools connected to children's leukemia.
Wow.
So this stuff the history went all the way back to the first telegraph. They started to see mammals and birds being affected by this stuff. So it goes so deep. And then when you start talking about 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, the data of safety is based on your proximity of thermal burning. It's not even taking into the effect, the field effect that it has, the frequency. What is that frequency? What is the magnetic radiation coming off of that? And I'll just say this. In 1993, and I was reading like PDF faxes, naturally the EMFs fell on, the electrification EMFs, the 1G, 2G, all this stuff, the emerging of that world fell on the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. So they started doing their own studies. There was a researcher that was also from the telecommunication companies that was leading a lot of the research. He came back seeing all these issues with exposure, proximal exposure. The closer these EMFs are to us, the closer the cell phone is, the closer the Wi-Fi router, and duration, and I'll unpack some of the issues with that, really creates problems. It's non-ionizing, and that's where this whole crap gets thrown around. Ionizing radiation, we know, acutely rips apart DNA. Okay,
that's what's like an example of ionizing radiation? What would a source
an X-ray.
be? Okay, an X-ray.
That's why they put freaking lead on your lap, so
it's
it
like
doesn't
that meme of the doctor saying no problem, and then he runs and hides behind the wall.
Or how they casually X-ray you when you go to the dentist, which is like so pointless in my opinion.
Right, blast your face full of radiation, right? So okay, but then they say non-ionizing. But through the research, it is, in many of these studies I cite, there's hundreds of studies that, okay, let me finish the story of the EPA. So he came back with all of this information about stress response in the body, and I'll unpack some of what that is. And he wrote a letter. I was reading the PDF letter. I don't know how I found it. I couldn't find it again after I kind of wrote it. So I'm not saying that was a conspiracy. I'm just saying I just couldn't find it. It took me days and days and days to find some of the stuff. And he said, okay, here's the warning we should tell people so they have informed consent on devices that clearly now are coming out, and the internet and all of this stuff. Overnight, the funding was let go of the EPA. The FCC, the Federal Communication Commission, took on all of the safety. And it's still 20 years old. The safety data is based on thermal proximity. It's not based on any of the frequency or the magnetic radiation.
This episode is brought to you by Barefaced. All right. Jordan Harper, who owns Barefaced, and she's also a nurse practitioner, came on this show and told me about these toning pads that always sell out. And on the show, I tried them on my arms and my hands, and I was like obsessed. And I've been using them on my face, and I am in love. And what I notice is when I apply my makeup the next day, it like glows. You know that glow that you get on your forehead, like that really pretty shine? I swear it's from these toning pads. So I've been using them probably every other night. I like to use them at night and not in the morning because they are an exfoliant. And I don't want to exfoliate in the morning and then go out and get incidental sun exposure. I looked into them and they're bestseller. They have thousands of 5-star reviews. And I got a code from Jordan for you guys. So use code SKINNY at checkout. You get 15% off your first purchase on barefaced.com. If you have any questions, head to their Instagram at barefaced and you will find a wealth of information on all things skin. You can also text their skincare specialist at 25169 anytime to speak to a professional and get your questions answered. Use code SKINNY at checkout. You get 15% off your first purchase on barefaced.com. Barefaced.com, code SKINNY. If you are someone who likes to save time and you want to get your meals delivered to your doorstep, but you want them to be healthy, then you have to check out Sakara. They have this super flexible signature nutrition program that makes it so easy to get things back on track. I know I have had a summer full of pasta. So basically you get 2 to 5 meals delivered each week and you get to take back your free time. Some of the faves are the cacao chip and almond waffles, and everything is designed to support your health and just give you the most radiant skin. But the best part is it's delivered to your door. It's plant-rich, it's organic, it's all the things that you need to eat healthy, but it saves you time. So you don't have to get all of these different services delivering you food. You just have your Sakara ready to go at the door. I'm a fan of their wellness drops. I like them in my water too. They have a really great wellness section in general. Sakara delivers science-backed, plant-rich nutrition programs and wellness essentials right to your door. Their organic, ready-to-eat meals are nutritionally designed to help you optimize your well-being with results that you can see and feel. From digestive wellness and ease bloat to enhanced metabolic health, energy, and safe weight management. Right now, our listeners get 20% off your first order when you go to sakara.com/skinny or enter code SKINNY at checkout. That's Sakara, SAKARA.com/skinny. You get 20% off your first order. Sakara.com/skinny.
Quick break to talk about one of our favorite partners, something that we think is absolutely essential to people's health and well-being, and that is your electrolytes, replenishing them, which is why we love our partner Element so much. Let's talk about depleting electrolytes and how detrimental it could be, whether you're having a glass of wine or you're doing a workout or you're just keeping an active lifestyle. If you don't have the proper electrolyte balance, you're going to have brain fog, you're going to have less energy, you're potentially going to get headaches. This is why we like Element so much, with none of the junk, no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no filler, no BS. It contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio of 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. This is how we use it. Lauren and I take it every single time we go to a workout. We dump it in our water and we take it throughout the workout as we're sweating. If we're going into the sauna, like so many people are doing now, we take it then as well. If you're just going through the day and you feel a little lethargic, you feel a little brain fog, you feel a little slow, you're probably depleted in electrolytes. So this is also a great time to do it. You just dump it in a glass of water and boom, you're good to go. So right now, Element is offering our listeners a free sample pack with any purchase. That's 8 single serving packets free with any Element order. This is a great way to try all 8 flavors or share Element with a salty friend. Get yours at drinkelement.com/skinny. This deal is only available through our link. You must go to drinklmnt.com/skinny. Element offers no questions asked refunds. Try it totally risk-free. If you don't like it, share it with a salty friend and they will give your money back. No questions asked. You have nothing to lose. drinkelement.com/skinny.
So are you saying they almost kind of don't want to investigate it? Because if they investigate it, they know something's going to show up.
Plausible deniability. If you don't and that's throughout this book, from your deodorant to a cell phone. If they don't, do we need more tests? Yes. Yeah, that's a good idea. Punt it. That's what the tobacco industry did. Yes, of course, we need more tests. Punt it. And they just keep saying that. And they keep saying that. And they keep saying that. And they don't reveal and they don't test their own product. Because if they did, all of these other tests, hundreds of tests that have been done on it would show that this is dangerous. Some of the dangers, going back to one of the things that freaked me out, we have barriers in the body. Of course, leaky gut, the barriers in the body, exposure to glyphosate and stress can open up the gut barrier, right? So we know what can happen there. Placental barrier. We used to think, I heard, in the 70s and even the 80s, the baby's pretty much always fine, right? Because the evolution is going to protect that baby. Nothing's going to pass through the placental border. All those things, the gut, placental border, we now know that EWG did a great research and showed that there was over 200 mostly carcinogenic chemicals and compounds in the placenta and the umbilical cord of every child being born. So that's a lie. The EMF, this is what scared me. It opened up the blood-brain barrier. Like, you start opening up that, you're going to have all kinds of problems, right? And so that exposure, it was showing things like proteins, albumin that wasn't supposed to be in the brain. Those kinds of things scared the shit out of me. And so the other stress response was clear, just cellular stress response. Free radical oxygen species increased. Motility, proximation, cell phone proximation to genitals.
Like, you got to take the cell phone off the dick.
Off the dick.
And
there was another study.
Huberman just said that too.
Huh?
People are finally starting to like actually take that seriously.
I think so.
Yeah.
I was actually, I am not, it was a real thing. So Huberman, Andrew Huberman, I saw him at a party, mutual friend of ours party, and he started to dive into the EMFs. And it was right when I finished that chapter. And he turned to me and he said, well, after the research I saw as well, and we were going back and forth, I'm never putting my cell phone in my front pocket.
He did an episode on it.
Yeah.
I have a question as it relates to your dad again.
Yeah.
I said in the car when he puts his phone on his nuts, I say, please take those off my future children.
Yeah. It's a thing when I see people around me and they just casually hear. And there was another study with a woman in the breast tissue, and they're right where the actual antenna was for the phone. She had a tumor. And that's just N of one, but there was many studies also showing the stress response of the breast tissue. And again, proximation, right? It's on your body. The fine print of a cell phone says never put it on your body. No one knows that. It's in the fine print of your owner's manual of your cell phone.
Well, I just want to stay on this for 1 second because I have a question. What is after writing this book and seeing all this research, relationship to your cell phone? How do you have boundaries around your phone to make it still work for you? Because obviously we're going to be on our phone. What do you do?
Yeah, great question. I just did this at dinner, right? Last night. I do it all the time. When I stand up and I'm going to walk somewhere, I put my phone on airplane. If I'm going to put it on in my pocket, it's on airplane mode, right? So I'm never leaving it on my body, or I don't. I never take a call up to my head. Okay. Ever, never, will never happen.
Never an AirPod, I'm assuming.
No. Bluetooth, no. Bluetooth is the same frequency as the cell phone, just not as much of the strength.
Okay.
So what are you, a speakerphone guy?
Speakerphone or air tubes. So air tube, number one, plug back in.
Is air tube just a corded one?
Yes. So cord, fine. If you have air tubes, there's actually an air tube that break the cord, and it in the volume and you can still hear, right?
Okay.
So but the EMFs don't go through it. So I wear those, or I'm on a speaker.
Okay.
And where is your phone when you wake up, and where is your phone when you go to bed?
My phone is off on my desk.
Okay. And
my wireless is, my Wi-Fi is off.
Okay.
When I go to bed. So there's a great company, Tech Wellness.
It's like a kill switch.
August is amazing. So I found her while I was digging for solutions and all of this stuff. I mean, plugging back in at your home, plugging back in, you can do all of that stuff. But air tubes, there's also an amazing device, again, a big solution. I found this guy digging into the research. A German guy made this incredible toroidal field. I know it sounds woo-woo, but it's scientifically backed. It makes a field effect, and it depolarizes the polarizing radiation, so it has less harm on the physical body. It's a device. I travel with it. I travel with the one on the plane, and I have one in my home. So I do all things. I turn it off. I turn the Wi-Fi off, and I have these devices that help.
What's this device called exactly?
WaveGuard, a key shield. QI.
I want to ask you a question as it relates to your father, because I'm sure there's still some people listening to this saying, hey, I don't feel any effects. And I wonder if in your father's case, he was exposed to so many things that his system just was overridden and it couldn't then handle. So I guess what I'm asking is, are some people's constitutions not able to handle things and others are maybe less sensitive and they're able to not notice some of the effects of this stuff? Because, maybe some people are listening like, I've never felt anything.
Right.
And I guess there's some nuance there.
Totally. And that's going back to the human strength of us. Just because we don't feel it doesn't mean it's not occurring. Why do you take a vitamin? Do you feel the vitamin when you consume it? No, but you're trusting it, right? So that's kind of the thing. So my dad, his liver was compromised, his thyroid was compromised. So it's not, like, think of it as a cup that's full. Any extra stress, this is stress. If anyone walks away, all of these things are perceived stress on the body. And so he couldn't deal with anything else. So that's where it was really challenging. But it doesn't mean that these things aren't causing your body harm.
Sure.
Right? And that's where the motility, do you feel when your sperm isn't working well? Do you know that your testosterone is low unless you test it, or your energy's low? And even females, bone density and testosterone, metabolism, all of that stuff. It's a slow hurt over time. Endometriosis doesn't just show up. Like, these things are estrogen related dominances that have been hitting us in a multitude of directions.
I also think you don't know what you don't know. If you've never gotten all these things, if you've never been in the right environment for these things not to thrive, you maybe don't know how it feels.
Right.
And an example is, we had the guy from Test My Home. He's amazing.
Oh, nice.
He's totally your vibe.
Ryan.
Nice.
Come over to our house. And he said, I'm going to kill your power and your EMF. And I want you to see if you feel a difference. So we stood in the kitchen and he killed everything in the house. The Wi-Fi, the power, everything. And immediately your body, your parasympathetic, I think, relaxes. And I can't explain it. And I wouldn't have known that my body wasn't relaxed until he did that.
Exactly. It goes back to full circle what we were just talking about. You don't know what you don't know, and you get used to it, right? It's like when I go from my hills in Malibu to New York, holy shit, right? Even in here, it's a different stress. So even though Austin's, it's a nice city, but that is the issue. That's the thing, that you're walking around in this stress. You're a mammal. You're a biological frequency machine. That's what you are. We have electrical things that we have created that are showing up in all of this research that's showing stress. And I think it is important to do. There's building by, I just did this for a friend of mine in Colorado. He was like, yeah, I'm not sleeping well and I don't know what's going on. I go, do you sleep with your Wi-Fi on? Yeah. And so I said, call this guy. He was a building biologist. He came to his house. His house might as well have been a power station, right? Right? It was just whacked because he had all of the biohacking and the saunas and the thing, and everything was on, and and the little devices he was wearing for his sleep. So the guy came in and shut it all down. The guy slept for like 11 hours the next day. So he didn't know what he didn't know unless he was willing to take that action. So that's the tough, quote unquote, pill to swallow, is that you don't know. But if you're willing to take at least one step, then you can have an opportunity to maybe realize that, I wonder, maybe my migraine is contributing or is being affected by some of these things. Maybe my sleep patterns, maybe my trying to get pregnant. If you start to eliminate some of this stuff, it's amazing what the change could be.
How do you inform people the way you do without having them go off the edge and just be scared of the world? I mean, obviously you're scaring them to a degree and informing them, but like, how do you make it so that somebody is not going to bed in a tinfoil hat and wrapping themselves in a space blanket?
I would go to bed in a tinfoil hat though, if it got rid of the EMF.
There's Faraday cages or canopies you can put on your bed. And I know many people, especially people in apartments and stuff, you can't turn off someone else's Wi-Fi.
So they do that.
And you got 12. Like even in this building, if I brought my meter, you'd be
jacked up. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be jacked. And so, I mean, listen, I think, because I know when people look at this stuff and you start reading, even though it's like, you don't know what you don't know. And then once you know it, you're like, holy shit, every direction. It's a weird world because you and I and all of us listening were born into these systems. And these systems were here well before us. And so let's not be a victim to them. Let's empower ourselves for them. If people are overwhelmed, hell, open the book, read one page, learn something, and just apply that. The last third of this book is all solutions. I'm not saying I have a cell phone. I use it. I just use it more wisely. I think of this as stress, all of this stuff. So I minimize my stress. And it's like exercise. Once you start feeling stronger, once you start having better clarity of mind, once you start integrating, then you can take the next step and the next step and just adding. I think of this as the other side of biohacking. We need to hack our way out of the modern world that we're unconsciously walking into, because it is affecting those very systems that people are doing blood tests for, tracking their sleep for. But the elimination of this modern day products that have no interest in your best interest is kind of the pushback. And my optimism ultimately comes by way of these conversations and of your audience listening, because they're listening to you because you're giving them good information, right? And so those people, if they tell their people and they, similar to you, they go home and make a change, they're turning the Wi-Fi off. No one knew that. The mom just decided to do it, and their kids are sleeping better. They're deeper in sleep. Like their husband's less angry. Like
Mom's turning off the Wi-Fi tonight. I don't know how the fuck I'm doing it. You're gonna have to tell me what to do.
You just hit the switch.
Where's the switch?
Unplug it.
I'm gonna unplug it.
Yeah,
I'm unplugging it.
Yeah, if you don't have the remote, because you can plug it right into a remote or a timer,
like a kill switch type thing.
Kill switch, yeah. Or just literally go it and unplug it.
So when it comes to how all this relates to food and beverage, do you have similar information there?
Yeah.
What should we be avoiding? What should we be eating more of?
Well, I want to talk to you about superfoods too, because I know obviously you're big on that.
Yeah. Ultra processed food. If people took away one thing to do in their eating routine, I don't care if like whatever people get wacky about paleo and carnivore and vegan and all of that stuff. I've been plant-based for 17 years or so. It's just about, again, this ultra processed food that is literally created as hyper palatable food so that you consume more of it. So if you just took that away, you would take care of most of those.
What foods are the biggest offenders when
fast food, clearly.
Fast food, yeah.
And then the little twist of it is that food doesn't stick to the packaging. This is where another zinger happened. The takeaway, the food wrapping, guess what that's dosed in? Here comes PFAS again. So PFAS is heat resistant, it's slippery. This is, just for context, this is a derivative of Teflon. This is connected to kidney disease, testicular cancer, diabetes, endocrine disrupting. So it's the food, ultra processed food have been showing PFAS in it, phthalates in it, parabens, like all kinds of stuff not to mention just the fake food that it is. So
because of the packaging, it's sold
but
in.
even if you get like a healthy, let's say you order, I'm just making this up, like you order the broccoli salad with all the good vegetables, and maybe you get some grass-fed meat on top, and the meat's hot, and you order this beautiful $25 lunch, and you get it, and then there's plastic around it that's hot. It's melting into your food, and also who knows what kind of pan it's been cooked in. I mean, you really have to be aware and do your own research.
Yeah. And think about, I mean, a lot of this stuff we've gotten used to. If I were given one thing to do, if I could gently, or maybe not so gently, shake back the common sense in people, because you're right, plastic is petroleum, right? So it's oil. And then to make it into a shape, they use phthalates, plasticizers, chemicals, solvents, all of that stuff. It's really good at its job. Obviously, it's really cheap. So then when you take something hot and you put it up against it, it naturally is going to come into the food. A good buddy of mine, Troy Swope, started a company, and he came from Yale, and then he worked at Intel. And I'll get to the incredible work that he's doing right now. He was working on circuit boards, and they were testing chemicals of off-gassing of all kinds of adhesives, plastics, and it would hurt the circuit board. So they had a chemistry profile and a testing protocol that was like nothing anyone's seen. He had takeaway show up one day. He saw his food wrapped in plastic. And because all these plasticizers and plastics he was working with, and it was hurting the circuit. And all of a sudden, light bulb went off. He took the food and started testing it in his lab. And he saw all of the same chemicals in his food. He started a new company using plant fibers and everything else, creating new packaging. Walmart, McDonald's, ConAgra, all these companies signing on. He's now creating another company.
He's doing that right now.
Yeah. He's creating another company where they've already cracked the code on a healthy form of PFAS using algae, right? So this is the hope. We are a victim of the system. So it comes in plastic. Our hot soup is like, it's crazy. So we're just consuming endocrine disrupting chemicals and plasticizers and likely carcinogens. These are the things. So what do you do? Right? Well, eliminate as much as you can takeaway food and ultra processed food. Go back into the kitchen, prepare your meals. Right?
You got to try AG1. Michael drinks this every single morning without fail, and he absolutely loves it. He has everything laid out. So when I come down super early, he has his shaker and all the things. He has been talking about AG1 forever. He has it first thing in the morning. I like it a little bit later in the morning. So I'll wake up, I'll do my morning routine. I'll scrape my tongue. I'll get my lemon water, and then I'll do it usually when I'm on the way to the gym. It gives me and makes me feel like I have more energy, but I also just find it to be a really efficient, seamless way to get more vitamins, probiotics, make it drinkable. It's whole food source nutrients. And I feel like it's something healthy that I do for my self-care every day. I am a fan of frothing it with a frother. I mean, I love a frother. I like it over ice, a lot of water, but you could mix it up. You could also have it warm. I mean, you could do whatever you want here. If you want to up your self-care, then check out AG1. Also, if you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D, and you get 5 free AG1 travel packets with your first purchase. I love these little packets. They're so easy to put in your handbag and great for travel. you're going to go to drinkag1.com/skinny. That's drinkag1.com/skinny. Check it out. I was just in Italy, and my vibe in Italy was like really bright colors mixed with a lot of white. And one of the colors that I was doing was orange. And so I went on eBay and I bought the most amazing, authentic Celine clutch bag in orange. It's so cute. It has like a little handle. I could put it on my wrist. And the reason that I use eBay when I buy a handbag is because eBay has authenticity guarantee that protects buyers from fakes. So you know you're getting the real deal and you'll never get faked over again. This has happened to me before where I went on this random site and bought something and it was fake and I was very upset. So I really like that about eBay. The service currently covers items across sneakers, watches, handbags, jewelry, and streetwear. I just am a huge fan of the handbag section. And you should know any purchase backed by authenticity guarantee is sent to an authentication team who personally inspects the items and checks against the listing and authenticates it. They have like sneakers, Nikes, Adidas, New Balance. Then they have handbags, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Dior, Prada. I'm a big fan of the Celine bags. They also have really cute Prada on there, I gotta say. And then watches, they have like Rolex, they have Cartier, all the things. Go on there. You're going to get real, authentic, quality pieces. Ensure your next purchase is the real deal with eBay Authenticity Guarantee. Everyone deserves real. Visit ebay.com for terms.
This one is for the sports fans out there. Football is back. It's in full swing. And for those of you that need to feel a little bit more vested in the games, we have a new partner, and that is DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet $5 on football and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Nobody's missing out on the action this season. All DraftKings customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. Obviously, do this responsibly and make sure that you're never gambling anything that you can't lose or don't feel comfortable parting ways with, because at the end of the day, it is gambling. So get in on the NFL Week 2 action with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now and use code SKINNY to sign up. New customers can bet just $5 and take home $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbooks with code SKINNY. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. KS 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in ONT. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility, terms and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply.
It sounds like what you're saying is we really have to get back to the basics. Like we've almost optimized and biohacked our way into
Oblivion.
It's
going
time to
the
go back.
wrong way.
Yeah, we got to come back. You mentioned saunas. Is there something weird about the sauna that we need to know?
Well, infrared saunas can be a electromagnetic radiation
Great,
device.
I did it for an hour this morning.
Right. Well, but most of them are onto it. I haven't dug into all of them. Most of them are doing proper grounding, remediation techniques, so you're not sitting in a EMF soup. So it doesn't mean that what you're sitting in is harmful. So just go back to the company and see what they're saying about it, and see. And also, easiest thing to do if you really want to know, get a little device. I can share the one that I use, and just go in there and turn it on. And then you'll turn it on.
Walking around my house with this device, Michael's gonna think
it's a Sunlighten. We have no partnership with them, so I'm
Sunlighten.
I think they're pretty good though.
Yeah, I think they are, because it was 2016. I had a Sunlighten, and I think I did some tests on it.
I do like the barrels better. I just like that the barrels get hotter.
We just had someone on who was really into eating meat, and we've yet to have someone who is plant-based for as long as you have been plant-based.
Yeah.
I have no opinion on either way. I know what works for me.
Yeah.
You obviously know what works for you. I would love to hear your experience with being plant-based for 17 years. I'm really interested in that.
Well, I'll tell you the context. I have a physiology and nutrition background, and I was a normal kid from Minnesota. Like I was an athlete, and so I always bought into the idea too. And my digestion, I was maybe started to bug me around 26 or something. So then I started kind of reading of food stacking, when to eat proteins, when to not. And then I was like, I remember, when autophagy happens and senescence happens, the body doesn't want to get rid of amino acids.
When you're when like in a fasted state,
any state.
Okay.
So when you're when that's happening, when senescence essentially is happening, when your body is no longer, it's done with that cell that's made of proteins, lipids, everything else. It upcycles amino acids as a part of the preservation, because it's harder. There's a lot of effort it takes to get proteins.
Sure.
Right. So I remember that. I'm like, interesting. And so as I was kind of not feeling good, this was, when I was 26 years old, and I remembered that, and I said, well, there's a lot of toxins in food, and therein lies the fatal convenience. I'm like, there's heavy metals and the fish, and the hormones and antibiotic resistant activity in the meat and everything else. So then I was like, I may not need as much. And so I started eliminating the animal based proteins. Then I started working out more. I put on
weightlifting or endurance.
Weightlifting.
Yeah, you're a buff guy.
Yeah. And I put on, back then I put on 20 pounds of muscle.
Wow.
And I went completely the other way, and all my joints and everything else were just feeling incredible. And then of course, when I integrate, and there's another big part of the story here, when I am able to integrate, I don't want to kill anything. I don't want to kill an animal. I don't think they're here for us. I think it's a ridiculous, unbelievably arrogant statement for anyone to say animals are here for us to slit their throats and eat. It's ridiculous. Now, I just think that that's a bad argument. People can live how they want. I am not here to try to convince anyone.
You just don't like the argument that people assume that the animals are here to sustain us.
It's a ridiculous statement. And so then cut to, I'm superfood hunting for 20 years. I'm literally running around the globe, fascinated and curious, finding the most nutrient.
And how does one begin to superfood hunt?
I know, it's funny. It's funny even saying that as it comes out of my mouth, because I didn't give myself that title. It came a Business Week article came, and this guy.
And maybe even just describe what.
Yeah. So it came about innocently when I lost my father in 2003. I was formulating. I was playing around with stuff and food and optimizing for training and I was doing some triathlons and everything else. So I was optimizing. I was playing around with superfoods at the time. I lost my dad, and it was just like, stop messing around, get to work, right? So I shifted gears, and I really was like, I'm going to make this a business, because what I'm really finding is incredibly fascinating in terms of nutrient dense foods that people weren't using. I was sick of looking at supplements and not seeing the integrity line up, because I was like, why are they using this flow agent, this paraben, this glycol? Why are they using these things that are clearly not healthy? And then the product itself was so neutered by the time the product, it was in the bottle or the package, it just, a light bulb went off. And the Minnesota kind of simple kid came out and said, well, where is the maca? Where is the sasha-inshi? Where is the unigado? Where is the Incanberry? Where is the camu? Where is it? I got to meet the farmer, right? So I come from farmers. My dad taught at the university, taught a lot of farmers how to
I'm going
manage.
to the source.
Yeah. So it innocently started with I'm going to create some products. I'm going to bring these things out, but I got to meet the farmer. I got to know how it's processed. We've got to preserve the incredible compounds that are there, really there, and that have been used for potentially 20,000 years when you look at Ayurveda and ashwagandha and things like that. So I was like, I'm not going to just create a product and then market it. I'm going to create a product that works. So I went, first trips, went to South America and hired a guy, Miguel Baruman. He still works for me, works for Barukas. I think, did I give you guys Barukas? I got to give you guys my nuts.
Would love them.
I would love some of your nuts.
Yeah,
I've never been this excited to have nuts. I cannot wait to try.
Yeah,
them.
I don't know, Lauren. You looked pretty excited the other night. Anyways,
so that started the journey of you go to South America, you go to the Amazon, you go to the Andes. Next thing you know, I walk away with not only knowledge of the certain botanicals I was looking into, but 25 other ones that I was able to look, feel, touch, see, understand, meet the farmer, meet the collector, meet the forager, meet the medicine man. And so it just became this. And so I got more formulating. Then the parts of it were like, wow, I could affect their life if I can make a product for them because they're doing it authentically. So then it became this mission of
affect the farmer's life. You mean
affect their life in a positive way, do this right, so that the consumer actually is consuming the medicinal, powerful compounds that is innately in these plants. So cut to all over the freaking world, got hired by Beachbody, created Shakeology, kept formulating stuff, kept doing stuff, all these things. So that's a long way of answering the plant-based thing. So I'm exposed and exposing myself to some of the greatest nutrient-dense plants in the world. So then I was always like, okay, there's nutrients in meat, but how did it get there?
In relation to that conversation, I was reading the back of your book, and it's two of the endorsements are Rich Roll and Max Lugavere, who they've both been on this show, and we know them, but both have completely different perspectives on diet, as you well know. And I think this is a question that's very relevant, especially with someone who's practiced a plant-based diet as long as you have. What mistakes do you think people who practice plant-based make in terms of getting proper nutrients? Because I think some of the people that have come on and have maybe gone the other way and failed is, it sounds like some of them don't get the nutrient sustainability that they need. And it might be because maybe they're not practicing the way that you do.
Totally. I think the ultra processed part of it, the fake meats, I think is ridiculous too.
Like when they're home growing.
Beyond.
The Beyond and all of that stuff. It's just an ultra processed version of ultra processed food that I'm like, I think it's horrible.
Like they make, Michael, they take like pepperoni and they make it like a fake processed meat.
No, I've seen it. The packaging in itself is questionable.
Yeah. So if you're a plant-based person and not eating many plants and just eating a bunch of ultra processed, you're going to sprint towards your own demise for sure. And if you're not eating a wide variety of food, which is the demise of us anyway, we all have a handful of fruits and vegetables that we eat, when our ancestors ate from 30 to 300 throughout the year, right? So we've lost that foraging. We've lost the flow, the rhythm of what is available at nature, from nature at the time that it is. We're not growing our own food. So I think people should grow their own food, or at least know where their food's from, go to the farmers markets, eat whole food, whole, fresh food. So that's usually where people lose. And then from a superfood side of it, from a nutrient dense side of it, from we are all under stress. Then, from 1930s, 1940s, there was a study from 1950 to 1999. All of these things, they looked at soil. They knew that the nutrient density, the way we were farming, they knew that we were losing nutrients. So we all are losing nutrients by the way our system is. So that's where the superfood side of it is like, let's get packed nutrient density to fill the gaps, not only from an adaptogenic standpoint because of stress and stress response and remediation of some of that stress and the stress on the body, but I think mostly it's the ultra processed kind of side of things where people start losing the qualities of, and you can do that both plants or animals.
What are 3 superfoods that someone can go online and order today that are super easy to order? Maybe you could share brands.
Well, it depends on what they want. I mean,
we want dewy, plump skin. We want things that support toning.
That's very, very clear.
And weight loss.
Yeah.
We want, what else do we want? We want to feel good. We want to have energy. We want to sleep well.
We want everything to be solved.
Yes.
And I want my husband to forage. Forage?
Forage.
There's one superfood that can do it all. Just kidding.
Oh,
there isn't.
I'm like, where?
Well, since we're moving into, the fall season, and collagen, it's a hot topic, but if you don't have high amounts of vitamin C, you cannot produce natural collagen.
Huh.
So you say vitamin C, ascorbic acid, no bueno, right? So go to high nutrient rich vitamin C. So a superfood that comes from the Amazon, one of my favorites, camu, right? So
Camu.
So
you
that's
just did some great PR for Camu.
Yeah. So I mean, I've known Zach, the owner of Navitas, over there. He sources great. He's known some of the people I've known in the Amazon for over 15 years as well. I'm not affiliated with Zach, other than I'm a fan of those guys over there. So you can get a pack of whole bag of powdered camu that has a certain high amount of vitamin C, and you can add it to smoothies, and you can add it to that. So,
and you can mix it with your collagen because it's going to make that work better, right?
Potentially.
So would you mix it with collagen, or would you just have it plain?
I wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah. But
you're saying if you have high vitamin C, you'll be able to produce collagen on your own efficiently.
Yeah. Got it. So you don't need
I'm always about the foundation first.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah, so
many people jump steps. Mm-hmm. You jump steps of health, and you haven't, testosterone replacement therapy for men is so huge right now. But if they're not looking at the fatal conveniences of cell phones off the pocket, parabens, phthalates, everything that's lowering testosterone. Also, some great research. I know that you can find research for anything, but some of the research I saw over 10 years ago was high amounts of meat. I was actually involved in a study where we took people, men and women, men off of meat and dairy for 3 weeks. Their men's testosterone went up by over 30%. And then I looked at other studies, and it was peer-reviewed studies that backed up our little study that showed eliminating meat increased men's testosterone. So, points to ponder on that stuff. So that to say, we jump steps. There's guys my age, 30 years old, using testosterone, for example. Because we're low in testosterone, there's a lot of foundational things in our systems, in our global system, and in our body systems that we need to deal with. But then, what are you eating? What are you exposed to? What are you not exposed to? Deal with that first before you start throwing exogenous.
A testosterone booster superfood?
Oh, there's, rhodiola is a fantastic one.
For working out. That's good for working out.
Ponket Ali is a great one. If you want another one that can help, if you want to produce babies.
Podosia?
Yeah.
Don't get any ideas.
We're done on babies for a second.
Yeah. Horny goatweed. But again, all the adaptogens too will help to deal with some of the stress, and that can help regulate.
One of the issues I have with some of the people that come on this show is, to your point, they jump to these extremes before they take care of the foundation. It's like, I'm going all meat or I'm going all plant. And I think, I've heard people come on and say you have to have meat, and I've heard people come on and say you don't. And I think if you look at, and I mean this as a compliment, guys like you and Rich, our mutual friend Rich Roll, like, you guys are in phenomenal shape as you're continuing to grow older and as you continue to, and you're continuing to perform. And I think like you're an example of someone who's not had meat and continued to thrive. And so I think my issue with a lot of people prescribing a lot of these diets or even supplements that we're talking about, it's like maybe they're not doing the base level of things to just get themselves in decent shape, right? Or in decent condition. Like we could talk all about testosterone boosting, but how many men are actually going out there and being active and being physical and getting their mind right, and
or eating horny goat.
Yeah, or like if people want to lose weight, like how many people are eating processed food or living in a shitty environment? Like you can't just jump to the supplement. We just had Peter Attia on as well. We were talking about the jumping to these things right away before you clear the foundation, I think is causing a lot of problems.
Yeah, I mean it's we constantly, and we're marketed to, we want that thing, and we all fall victim to it. We want that thing that's going to do the magic testosterone, the collagen boosting, but always going back to, hey, how'd you sleep last night?
I mean, people are sleeping like shit.
What's your hydration level? I mean, the chronic dehydration is so crazy that, I think the latest is about 10% of Americans don't even drink an ounce of water a day. And then you can, of course, unpack what kind of water, right?
Sure,
and that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Our friend Shervin's out in some spring right now doing, gathering spring water somewhere.
Exactly. So again, so now you're talking about skin health.
Yep.
But your skin will give up its water well before it's going to have any vital organs be affected, right? So if you want to look good, get freaking hydrated. If you want to look good, sleep good. You want to look good, eat hydrating foods, watermelons, papaya, things in season, like all of and exercise, sweat, go in the sauna, all of these things. And then you get some blood work done and you see where you're optimized or not optimized. And then you can make adjustments, but jumping over those steps, I think it's quite dangerous in a lot of ways.
I want to know, before you go, how it was to work with Zac Efron, because I have to ask you that. Yeah. All the girls want to know.
All the girls.
And what did you exactly?
Oh my God! Like his abs were just so.
How's
awesome.
his jawline? He has a great jawline.
Yeah. I mean,
what's his superfood intake?
Does he mouth tape?
Does he what?
Mouth tape.
Mouth tape. I'm glad I didn't. I thought I heard you say that. I thought you said, does he manscape?
Oh, well, you could tell us that too.
And I'm
Man, you really
grateful
got the details.
not to know that. I mean, listen, Zac and I started as friends. He had reached out from Rich Roll's podcast back in the day, and he connected because he heard something I was talking about and wanted to know what I was up to and superfoods and stuff like that. So he's always taking care of himself. And so it started by way of that. So, when we did this show, the last thing, honestly, I wanted to do was do something that I really care about, which is health of people and health of the world, and do it with a celebrity. It's the last thing I wanted to do. But the way this happened serendipitously, because of his heart, because of him sharing what he cared about, I was sharing the idea that I had for this show, and he was able to walk it basically in. That meant a lot to me. And he's a sweet kid. I mean, I think, he has a hell of we got into it a little bit on the show, but, at 15, you're thrown into a world no one can understand except someone else maybe close to what he went through. And so you see that that's intense, man. It's really intense. And that happened young. And for him to just keep his life on together and to also commit to things that are beyond him, and which he did on the show, I was super grateful for it. So he's a sweet kid. So is his brother Dylan.
I think everyone should go buy your book. I'm going to use this as my Bible. I'm going to highlight.
I don't know if I can read this then and get some good sleep though. I'm going to,
Man.
Oh, well, there's going to be no Wi-Fi in our house tonight. That's getting turned off. So don't even think about it. That is definitely, and there's no phone next to your ear, no
I don't do that.
AirPods. We're getting Camu. I have all this stuff written down. If you even put a Glide floss stick next to my head, really quick. Maybe you can do a little tip for Michael.
Yeah.
Michael loves hair paste. He goes.
No, I go to EWG now.
He goes.
Oh, that's
you
good.
do?
Yes.
Okay. That's okay.
That's
Okay.
pretty good.
I didn't know that. Is that new?
Yes, I got different kinds.
Okay, but do you have to wear the hair paste to bed on the pillow? And then he comes over and he wants an itch on the hair paste because he likes his head itched. Not that head.
Listen.
He likes his head itched. And I'm like,
I think that's a marital thing. I don't know if I can help you in that one.
Can we just go natural?
I read The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton, right? Is that the writer? When I was 13 and now I just greased it back ever
why
since.
Don't you use this? How about this? How about this for a great up level hack?
Okay.
Try oxygenated olive oil.
Oxygenated? That I've never heard that. I will try that.
If you start
so it's
going to
be super good for your skin, your head, your hair.
Does it have
me?
And it's gonna smell like ozone.
The Italian side of me is really gonna love it.
It's gonna smell like fresh rain.
That's my last thing with him. He's doing everything right besides the floss stick and the hair paste.
See, let me know how it works. I
gotta
can give you a source for
back.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, oxygenated olive oil.
Oxygenated. Okay,
and it's good for you. You can use it as it's nice utility.
Rub it everywhere.
Yeah.
Nobody's given me a tip for the hair yet, so now, Darin, I gotta keep you around
the
more
whole
often.
entire podcast. I was like, I can't wait to ask him for his tip. Fatal conveniences, the toxic products and harmful habits that are making you sick, and the simple changes that will save your health. Available on Amazon. Where else? Where can we find you? Where can we DM you, stalk you, ask you all the questions?
Yeah. Anywhere where darinolien.com, social, all of that stuff. And anywhere where you love to buy books.
Thank you for coming on. You're welcome back anytime. I could have talked with you for days.
Thank you.